Okay, so this is the key to the worksheet on topic 12, part C. And in this worksheet, you're given about 10 functions, and you're asked to find the domain and range of each of those. So if you look at number one, you want to find the domain and range. Now make sure on your paper you write domain, you kind of write it like this, domain equal and then range equal. Or you could have just said D equals and then R equals. But you have to indicate which one's the domain and which one's the range. Okay, so in this particular case, remember the domain is a set of x coordinates. And when we talked about this in our lessons, we indicated that it's a good idea to use some kind of instrument, ruler, whatever you may need, and you go along the x-axis. And keep in mind the arrows. These are arrows here. So as you go along the x-axis, the domain, remember, it's a set of x coordinates that represent this graph, will be from negative infinity all the way to positive infinity, because even at negative 1,000, there's a point on the graph. So the domain here is negative infinity to infinity. The range, remember, you go along the y-axis, so you go from bottom up. And so notice the arrows are pointing down, so that's indicating that you're going to start from negative infinity all the way, and the maximum y value is this y value here, which is 4. Okay, that's a 4. All right, so you're going to say parentheses negative infinity. Remember, with infinity, negative infinity, you always use parentheses. And since this is not an open circle, you're going to use 4 with a bracket. Okay? All right, number 2, we have this. It kind of looks almost like number 1, except this time you have an arrow, and then you're told, right, there should be no confusion here because you're told that this is an open circle. All right, so that's an open circle. And so the domain, it will go from the arrows on this side. So you're going from negative infinity. So negative 100, when x is negative 100, there's a point on the graph. When x is negative 1 million, there's a point on the graph. And so you're going from negative infinity all the way, and then you stop here. Okay, that's where the graph stops, but it's an open circle. And so keep in mind that this x coordinate here is 6. So that's 6. So the domain, you're going from parentheses negative infinity all the way to 6 with parentheses because that's an open circle. The range, notice the arrow, remember the range is a set of y coordinates. So you're going from bottom up along the y-axis. You have an arrow pointing down, so you're going from negative infinity all the way, and then the largest y value on this graph is 7. So 7 with a bracket. So negative infinity, parentheses, 7, bracket. Number 3. So number 3, again, you want to find the domain first. And so notice I start touching a graph. There are no arrows here, so you're not going to be dealing with infinity, negative infinity at all. The only time you deal with infinity, negative infinity is when you see some arrows. There are no arrows in this problem. But you are starting at this point here, but that's an open circle. So you're going to say parentheses, and that is negative 5. So the domain will be parentheses, negative 5, comma, all the way, and then the largest y value is, the largest x value is this number here, this x coordinate here, which has x coordinate 5. So it'll be 5 with a bracket. Okay, then the range. So the range, so again, you go along the y-axis. So the smallest y value on this graph is this y value, which is negative 2. So that's a closed circle. So you say bracket negative 2, comma, all the way to, and the largest y value is up to 6. Not 6, but 5.99999 and so on. So we're going to say 6 with parentheses. All right. Then number 4, notice that number 4 is almost like number 1, except this time the arrows are pointing up. So notice, though, there are arrows on both ends. So you're going from negative, for the domain, you're going from negative infinity all the way to infinity. The range, though, when you go along the y-axis from bottom up, and always go from smallest to largest, there's a smallest y value on this graph, and that's the smallest y value right here, and that happens to be negative 2 with a bracket. all the way to, and it never stops, keeps on going, all the way to infinity. All right, so that's number 4. Okay, let's look at number 5. Number 5, you have no arrows here, but you have an open on the left, closed on the right, and so the domain looks like it's going from -5 parentheses. So negative 4.99999 is on the graph, but -5 is not. So that's an open circle. So go from -5, all the way to this, and the largest x value on the graph is this number here, which is 6. So 6 with a bracket. So that's the domain. The range will equal. All right, so you're going from the smallest y values here, the largest y values here. So you're going, and then you're having any real number between -3 and +7. Okay, so you're going from -3 bracket all the way to +7 bracket, because that's a closed circle. All right. Number 6. So notice the arrows on the left side, on the right side. So the domain set of x coordinates. So you're going to start here, which happens to have x coordinate -7, but it's open, so it's not part of the graph. But you still must say parentheses -7, because -6.999 is on the graph, -6.999999 is on the graph, but so it's any number very close to -7, but not including -7, all the way to infinity. The range, the arrow is pointing down. Okay, so if this is if this y value here is -100, there's going to be a point in the graph somewhere around here. All right, so you go from -infinity all the way, and the highest y value, the largest y value is a +7, with parentheses though. All right, just like that. Okay, number 7. So you have an arrow on the right side. So the domain, you're going from, notice it's an open circle, so you're going from -5 parentheses all the way to infinity parentheses. The range, the smallest y value is this point here. All those other y values are bigger than that one. So the smallest y value is -2 bracket all the way to infinity. Okay, the next one, notice this is a line, the arrows on both ends. So the domain will be from -infinity all the way to infinity, and the range is also -infinity all the way to infinity. So -infinity to infinity, the range is also -infinity to infinity. All right. Then number 9, notice you have a line segment with closed circles on both ends. So the domain here, you're going, the smallest x value is this point, is this x coordinate right here, which is -7 bracket, all the way to, and the largest x value on the graph is +5 with a bracket. The range, go along the y-axis, the smallest y value, remember y value now, that's -3 bracket, and the largest y value is this y value here, which is 6 with a bracket. And then finally, number 10, same idea. You're going, so the domain, you're going from, you start here. You only have an arrow on this side. You start here. So that x coordinate is -7, parentheses though, because it's an open circle, all the way, and never stops, all the way to +infinity. The range, okay, now notice this arrow keeps going down. So you're going from -infinity, and the largest y value on that graph, the largest y value is 7. All these other y coordinates on this graph are below 7 or smaller than 7. So that's your largest. So you go from -infinity all the way, and the largest is 7 with a bracket. All right, and so that is the key to this worksheet, to the worksheet part topic 12, part C.